Good evening and welcome to the May 6th meeting of the Portsmouth Historic District Commission. It looks like we originally had a very lengthy agenda, but there have been a lot of postponements. So if you're here to hear something, we'll go through that and make sure that you're not here for something that is going to be postponed. I'll introduce everybody here tonight. To my far right, I've got Larry Booz, our alternate.
I'm here. Hello, good evening.
Happy to see you.
Glad to be here.
And same with Susan Strauss, our second alternate.
Good evening, everyone.
We've got Dr. Dan Brown,
Good evening.
Martin Ryan,
Good evening.
our Vice Chair Margot Doring,
Hello.
I'm Chair Reagan Rudig. We've got Isaac Gilbo from the Planning Department.
Good evening.
Kate Cook is our council representative. Good evening. Joy Kurth
Good evening.
and David Adams.
Good evening.
The board's action in these matters has been deemed to be quasi-judicial in nature. If any person believes any member of the board has a conflict of interest, that issue should be raised at this point or it will be deemed waived. All right. Seeing no one noticing to that statement. Before we do our approval of minutes and our administrative approvals and everything, I do want to go through all of the postponements. So we have a request to postpone both the public hearing and the work session of Michael Dulac, owner for property located at 325 Marcy Street. So I am assuming that will be, you need a postponement to next month?
That's correct.
Okay. And we have, I'm trying to figure this out, we have a request to postpone also for work session D, which is requested by Robert M. Snover, Revocable Trust, owner for property located at 58 Humphreys Court. And that also will be to next month.
That's correct.
Can I get a motion to postpone those two things, because the others are more complicated?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
We also have a request to postpone a work session requested by Christopher W. Avery Revocable Trust for property located at 30 Walden Street. This postponement has come back to us a number of times, and I think at this point we need to deny the request to postpone so that if and when they come back,
They'll reapply and we can renotice the project.
So I'll make a motion to deny the request to postpone by Christopher Avery.
Second.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Right. And then we have a request to end the work session requested by Maximilian Hochschwender, owner for property located at 44 Rogers Street. I know that that's no longer the actual owner. I think it got purchased. But they are just going to come back for a public hearing.
That's correct.
So I just need approval to end that work session.
So moved. Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, thank you. All right. The first item is the approval of the minutes from April 1st, last month. Hopefully everybody got a chance to review those. Are there any notes or corrections?
Move that we accept.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, chair votes aye. All right, let's move, I guess I can gavel that one. Let's move on to the administrative approvals. So I'll hand it over to Isaac, although does anybody, I have a recusal. Does anybody else need to recuse themselves from any of the?
We will start with the item that the chair has to recuse on.
Which is 35 Highland Street?
Yes.
Okay, just because they're my neighbors.
All right, and 1 second. Bear with me. Let me just get my screen shared.
Number 5.
Okay. All right, so the applicant is requesting to go from an existing two-door garage system, which you see here, to a singular garage door that will accommodate 2 vehicles. So it would be the same with opening. It would just lose the middle piece there and just be one continuous door. And this is what the new door would look like, pretty similar to the existing, just with the addition of the top lights, excuse me.
Any comments or questions?
Is there a reason? I mean, I think this new door looks more industrial for a residential neighborhood.
I didn't have, a real, motivation for that from the applicant. It was just something that they wanted. I'm not sure if it's easier to accommodate both of their vehicles without having the middle piece there. It might allow for larger vehicles.
Yeah.
If the owner is here and could answer that question better than I can, please up to the podium if you'd like.
Thank you. If you could introduce yourself, please.
Sure. Arthur Tobin from 35 Highland Street. We're just basically looking to open it up. The existing doors are fairly narrow. They're 8 foot, so you can get a smaller vehicle in there, but it's very difficult to access with a moderate or larger size vehicle. So we were hoping to be able to open it up to have better use of it. And it's not really an industrial design. It's more of a shaker style. It's probably not that easy to see on the photograph.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Is there a motion to approve or deny?
I'll make a motion to approve, get some conversation started.
A second, please.
Second.
And discussion.
Well, I would say that it does look less historic with one long big door, but at the end of the day, it is a garage. So as much as I'm not crazy about the change, I think it's a less historic change. I'm going to just accept and support the approval.
Yes, David.
I don't have much of an opinion about overhead garage doors. They're a difficult thing. I've struggled for years trying to blend them into period buildings. But I think the repeated small window at the top is a thing that gives this thing another character, that moves it into another position. And wondering if they could just put 4 solid panels in each frame, and without that, I think that it would be plain. It would be missing the centerpiece, but I think painted out, it wouldn't bring you right to the focus of what is that. It's just a thought. Trying to find a place.
David, do you have an estimate for the age of the house? We don't get that when we have the admin approvals, but it seemed to me that this is 20th century.
It certainly looks it. I'd say 1910. Yeah.
1927.
There you go.
I mean, certainly smaller cars, smaller vehicles would have been at that era. I found that this was set back from the street. I didn't see it as being a main feature of the building. So I was okay with changing it to a full door, a double door. Any other thoughts on whether the glazing or the lights would be better one way or the other?
You know, I would echo what Dave Adams has said, that what you're seeing is a horizontal pane, which is not appropriate for a historic window. So if we could lose the windows, I think that would go a long way to make this more acceptable.
I would agree that that's a good suggestion.
Any other thoughts?
I'll agree as well. I think it will just keep that historic character, look more like the current door, but give you that ability to have it be fully open but look similar without significantly changing it, therefore maintaining the look of the character of it. So,
Kate?
I have no problem with the proposal as presented. while maybe it would be more ideal if it didn't have the windows, I think that it is reasonable enough. This change is, I don't believe, very significant.
I'm going to take advantage of the fact that the applicant is here to ask if the windows are a deal breaker for you.
I just feel like there's something we'd like to have. It's very dark inside, so this would also offer an opportunity for, some light to filter into, the structure when we're using it. I guess ultimately it's not a deal breaker, but it would be better for us to have it as presented.
Thank you. Well, it seems to me that we have, yes, Larry.
I'm going to agree with Commissioner Cook that I think it's a garage door, and if it improves the homeowner's utility, I think you have to go with it. I don't think it's something you got to hold the guy to a real real rigorous standard on. It's close enough to the way the original door looks that, when it's painted the same color as the original door, I don't think you're going to notice it that much. And he is right, it would allow more daylight into his garage. And having grown up where my dad had a 3-bay garage with 12-foot doors, every little bit of natural light that came in was important, particularly on a dark winter morning. So I would say let him go for it. So.
All right, unless there's more discussion? Okay, so I failed to note which of our two alternates was going to vote for in place of our chairperson.
I would vote for approval.
Sorry. The point is, I should have said which of you was voting before you all started talking. I apologize for that. Larry, I am going to just designate you as the person who's going to vote, and I'm going to say that right now we have a motion on the floor to approve as presented with the lights, and I will take a vote on that now. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, do we have a tie here? We have to count.
I'm opposed.
I'm sorry. All those in favor? 1,
Aye.
2, 3. Opposed? 1, 2, 3. I'm going to vote in favor and allow the applicant to go ahead with the lights. All right. There we go.
Thank you. All right. Back to the beginning now.
Okay, we will start back at the top, and we will go to item number 1, which is 96 State Street. The applicants here are looking to install 3 exterior HD condensers on the building. The photo that's shown here is the sort of tight parking alleyway area where the condensers will be located, and they will actually be located behind where the truck is standing and on the other side of the stair rails that you can see. They're located here in red, and then there's also a schematic, here as well. And then you can just see again where those will be located and the sizing.
I'm sorry, Isaac, I could not make heads or tails out of this schematic, so could you do that one more time? Because I walked around and I could not figure this out.
So if I'm looking at it correctly, from this photo where the railings are for this exit behind the bed of the truck, that would be the location for the 3 condensers on the snow stands. So
Behind the stairs.
Exactly. And if I'm mistaken, I think we have the applicant here, but I believe that is what we are looking at on this page right here. and it does appear that we will be running the line sets on the interior. It does not show any exterior line sets.
That's what I couldn't figure out, how it gets around the corner. Okay, that makes more sense.
And have they designated what type of screening they're going to use?
They did not have screening proposed in this application. I'm not sure if the applicant is open to suggestions, or if we could stipulate that they just use one of our sort of standardized wood screening options.
That could be a stipulation. Okay. All right. Any other questions on it?
Okay. We will move along to item number 2, which is 254 Newcastle Avenue. Again, this project is here for the installation of an exterior condenser and for exterior line sets as well. There were some questions from the commission last month. I reached out to the applicant. We have a somewhat updated proposal from the HVAC company, and the applicant is here in case we've got further questions. So as noted, the condenser will be hidden at the rear of the home behind fencing, so that will not be visible from the street. What will be visible are the 2 sets of line sets that are here. One set is behind the chimney on the side of the home. It comes sort of out from the side. It goes down the side of the home and then up for the head unit at the top. The one that I think was maybe more questioned last month was the line sets that will need to, in fact, run to the front of the home and then up the corner into the second floor. And we do have a little bit of a better schematic from the HVAC company, but I would like to invite the homeowner who can speak to this exact design a little bit better than I can.
Please.
Hi, Ed Shimbub, 254 Newcastle Ave. So it's going in the second floor bedroom, and it's a small 10 by 10 bedroom, and it's extremely hot. There's poor insulation in the ceiling. So the only way to get this line set is basically up through the side here. Now, you've got that short little roof. We thought about hopping the roof with the line set, but we think it would look better taking it around the front. Do you have the other picture, Isaac?
Yes. Yep.
So I think that's a little clearer. In the green is what we're proposing. It goes across the telephone pole. Obviously, it's behind the telephone pole. So it'll go right under the fascia board. We were going to put it on the fascia board, but it's only like 3 inches, and I think the line set cover is going to be a little bit wider than that. So we're going to put it right under that small little roof, and then you could see we come up the siding, and then we have to come back over to hit the side where it's going in. Point this out.
Sure. Just be careful, don't touch the screen. It's touch sensitive.
So it basically comes up here, goes across the side, up, over, and in. The other thought we had was to come up and then go across the roof, which we thought was going to look worse, because then it goes across. At least this way we can blend it in. It's going to be gray. I'm going to paint it to match the house also. So, and then over in this section, we'll paint it white, and we'll use white flex stuff to come around there, and then up into the bedroom in that section.
I had one question. The condenser itself is in the back of the house,
Right.
and this is in the front corner of the house.
Right.
Is there something running through the basement?
Yes.
And then it comes back out here?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I mean, this is, it's a difficult one because it just, it's a hard spot to get to with all of the different roof lines, and then, you know, it's something that's going to look like a giant worm is snaking all over your house. So we're just trying to figure out how, you know, to get it there in the most efficient and kind of least intrusive way.
I struggled with that
I'm
too.
sure you
In
have.
the AC, I've had 2 or 3 guys look at it.
Yeah.
You know, again, we're open to go across the roof if you think that would look better.
I feel like, wouldn't that catch rainwater and snow and
Yeah.
probably wouldn't be.
Long-term, that would be
Yeah.
a difficult thing.
Right.
Not good.
Yeah.
Is the window in the gable, is that the same bedroom?
Yes.
You know, where I normally want to hide these things as much as possible, I'm wondering if running straight up the clapboard and painting it in the end might actually be better for this.
In what location? The front?
Any location. Just,
So the question is there a way to go up the gable end, not touching the shed roof at all, or the shed portion of this thing, but go and run the line up the corner board and then up the rake board, and then through inside into the room?
Not where I'm gonna place it. Can you scroll up on those pictures?
So you'd rather have the pipes outside than put them in the room, is what you're saying?
No, I don't mind putting them in the room, but right there, you see, that's really the only location. It's such a small room. It's the only place I can put it. If I brought those into the room by the window, it would have to come across the wall, and then just to the left of the unit itself, that's the roof line that slopes down.
yeah.
So it would be basically running all the way across the room.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Well, it seems like, I mean, I don't know if there's a better solution, so thank you for trying. If this is,
Yeah.
seems to be the
Yeah,
best.
but again, I've looked at it for a month and a half, and
Sure.
that's the only way we could come up with to get it there.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, thank you.
And just because the applicant mentioned it, we could stipulate that any exterior conduit lines match the siding and/or trim.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to item number 3, which is 404 Islington Street and 12 Union Street. So the applicant here is seeking approval for an aluminum gutter and downspout system for the property. This, I believe, is the Martin Hill Inn, if I'm correct. And so that's why they have the sort of the dual address. One contiguous property, but 2 frontages.
We haven't voted, so, I'm sorry. So now we're going through all of the administrative approvals, and we'll vote on them all together at the end as a package. So we took the one out before just because I had to recuse myself, and so the voting was different.
Yep.
If you want to. Yeah.
All right. And so we just have some exterior photos to show the general locations for where the proposed gutter system will go. Continuing on.
We approve these line sets?
And then just examples of some other similar K-style aluminum gutters on Islington Street.
So will the gutters match the existing gutter on the guest house sunroom? Because there is an existing gutter there.
My
Photo 7.
My guess is that it would be a similar style. I'm not sure if the applicant is here to confirm or deny. I will see if there's an actual spec here that might show that.
It does say, I mean, it would be replaced. At the first page, it says that
Gotcha.
this failed and is going to be replaced. But
So to answer your question, it would all match. It'd all be brand new.
I would just like to, ask Isaac, do you remember if we approved the line sets for these condensers? Because unless I missed a meeting, I do not think I would have approved line sets like this for this building. Does anybody else have memory of this? And I certainly don't think we would have allowed without telling them to paint it, the body of the house. So-
I don't recall line sets. I'm happy to look back and check the application materials from recent past. And if that's something that we need to have the applicant come back for, even just, to paint to match, we can do that.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Then
Yeah.
I'm not going to approve this. If we didn't approve these and this person went ahead and put these things in, I think we should hold up on approval of these gutters because they're proceeding in a way that they're not supposed to. I'm not saying I don't support the gutters, but I think we need to get this property back to proper procedure.
Okay. Is there any representative from the property here? Doesn't look like it. Well, I'm not sure procedurally how, if we can hold it up, because this is, the lane
different
sets
request?
are not part of that request.
Okay.
But it is something that Isaac can go back and,
Research.
Yes, absolutely.
I have.
Can we make the application pending on resolution of the line set issue?
I mean,
It would take care of the vote, they could still hire the people and all of that, and all they have to do is make that right.
okay. I mean, that could be a stipulation, but it's not part of this application, so it's,
So the only
Hearing
option
on
is
May
to just
3rd, 2022.
disapprove it for this.
I'm sorry?
May 3rd, 2022 is when there was a hearing, a previous hearing for this. Different issue, but.
Yeah, no, I don't think back in 2020. Okay,
Quick question.
yes.
Would this have to have gone through a building permit application?
Yes.
Okay.
So should be in there somewhere, and if not, then. this
Then it
will
would have
be
been
part of it.
flagged as historic property.
So, so this is a major issue with the property that we've noticed, so I think Isaac's going to do some research and investigation
Yes.
on that, and that will not go unaddressed.
Okay.
But I think that we can continue with the gutters for this application. Yes.
Thank you. I think we have to be careful because we don't even know that it was the same owner at the time. So I don't want to make assumptions about process and procedure and who's followed and who hasn't until we know more, so.
Although our decisions are based on the property rather than the ownership. Just to say.
Yes.
While I do understand that, I don't want to make assumptions about whether or not this applicant, this individual has followed procedure or not. And I do think we have to take them separately. I think it's important to investigate that separately.
I agree.
Okay. Any other questions on the gutter situation? Yes.
I would just, my 2 cents, again, I'm going to agree with Commissioner Cook. I think legally, you can neither add nor detract from the application for the gutters, and it is a separate issue for Isaac to pursue. And as she pointed out, it could very well be a separate owner. So, it is what it is. I guess my 2 cents would be look into it separately if it's something he's looked into. But you can neither add nor detract from the existing application.
All right. There's nothing further. Let's move on.
All right, that will bring us to item number 4, which is 420 Pleasant Street. The applicant here is seeking approval for mechanical exhaust and intake vents, a relocated condenser unit screening toward the property line, and that's to add a bulkhead. And then they also had to shift the addition foundation exterior walls slightly, and so we will see those minor changes. Here's just some of the venting, mechanical venting that they will need. some roof exhausts as well on the rear. This is just showing how the exterior foundation walls have just slightly changed. Shows where the bulkhead would be proposed and also shows the relocated condenser screening. And then, of course, we just have our list of materials that have been coming along with this property. We have the previously approved screening. They're just showing that that was already there. They'll use that same style.
Just a quick question.
Yes.
It says previously approved November of this year.
Yep. Oh, I think that might have been a typo. I think that's supposed to be 11/12 of 25.
Right. Not time traveling.
Any questions on these minor modifications and mechanical exhausts and vents?
I have one that just, I can't make it work in my head. The Franklin Street elevation
One second.
shows exhaust intake, which by itself is not an issue, but that's right where their electrical entrance runs. There's a pole very, very near there, and the wires run directly to the house and then drape down. Are they going to have both there at the same place? Or are they going to move the wires? That's something I don't know. I don't know that they actually have to ask us about that, though. Just saying, it doesn't make sense. It's nicely centered between the windows, but I don't know that it makes sense. I don't think it's going to change anything otherwise, just.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Any other questions?
Okay. We will move along to then item number 6, which is 235 Marcy Street. The applicant here, of course, was before us previously for a full renovation and addition project. The proposal this time around would be to add solar panels to the roof and also snow guards as well. So as you can see here, they would like to add solar to the top shed dormer and then onto the new rear addition roof line, covering the majority of that. Further down, we have some examples of what that would look like from more of a street view. So from the street, you would see a few of the panels on the lower rear addition from the back. The roof panels that are on the dormer on the 3rd floor there, those would be very minimally visible. You would maybe see the edges of those. You wouldn't see a full panel. In addition, you would probably also barely notice the snow guards that they have proposed here as well. And if need be, we can always stipulate that any conduit lines, any electrical or mechanical lines be run directly through into the house and not be exterior. So,
With the state of the house, that's probably a great thing to ask.
yeah.
Any questions or concerns with this one? Yes?
In the future, it'd be nice to have a view that's from the sidewalk, so it's lower, because it's really hard to tell from this
Yeah.
perspective.
Sure.
Agreed.
I mean, the roof of the rear addition is clearly visible as you go past, and if you're walking slowly, you will have a clear view. If you're driving past, probably less so. So
Yep.
it's a little more than minimally visible, but not much.
That's, of course, why it came to us for an admin approval. This did not meet our exemption. So, okay. Well, if there are no further questions on this particular application, then I will keep moving forward to item number 7, which is 402 State Street. The applicant here is seeking approval. One second. To install an iron gate at the rear property line. This property also is a pathway through to Court Street. There's a lot of foot traffic through there. The applicant has had incidents of folks doing things that you wouldn't want to be done in your parking lot. So to stop that, they just want to put a simple iron fence at the rear to mitigate that. And it would go right across the property line, and it would attach to this existing vinyl fence that they've got here in the corner, and then it would actually go all the way to just the end of the property line.
No gates.
No gates proposed in this.
Well, do they have any specifications for this? Like, do we know, is it, they haven't given us any close-up specifications, really, is what I'm asking. Is it? Okay,
Oh,
sure. If you can come up, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Because I can't tell if the posts are those like hollow posts, or if it's going to be solid, or.
They're going to be solid galvanized. That is the plan. I'm actually meeting the fence people tomorrow for the first time. They're going to be core drilled, so they'll be tight. They won't rock. Galvanized so that they won't rust. And it's going to be taller than that because that's jumpable. But we're getting some vagrant activity back there. We're also had a middle school scheduled fight back there a few weeks ago. I guess they get out of school in the middle of the day on Wednesdays, so I came out to literally a full-on fight in the backyard. We also have people that's my car. We've had some vagrant people kind of like crouch down and hide back there. It's the perfect place to not be seen by the police, and then you can run off if somebody tells you to leave, where if we have the fence up, there's no reason to go back there and try to cut through. The fence will match as much as I can a front fence, so we have a front gate that you can enter through for the driveway. It always stays open. That, I believe, is original with the property. The property was built in the early 1800s. It's anywhere from 1813 to 1825, so that this will match that as much as possible. And then the other properties, not on that way, because there's a house that kind of works as a natural barrier, but all of the houses that go towards middle all have fences in the back, very ugly fences. Ours will be beautiful.
Height?
Yeah, how tall do you want it?
I am going to check with the fence company, but I believe it has to be at least 5 feet. I don't want to go 6 feet unless I have to. I'm going to make sure that there's no horizontal pieces that anyone could get their foot in to climb. If the vertical pieces are no more than 4 inches apart, I'm told that you can't get your foot in there to try to climb it if there are any horizontal pieces that go along the vertical pieces.
And black.
Black, definitely black.
Thank you.
Yep. And with this type of fence, Isaac will probably remember first I sent an awful rendering that I did that was just terrible of a continuation of the white fence. It looked really bad, even though it would probably be a lot cheaper. It looked terrible, so that's why I switched it to this. Also, we have an issue with where do we put snow when we snow blow in the winter. So by having a fence that opens up like this, the neighbors behind us and us, we can continue to put the snow right up against it. And the neighbor behind us is also in favor of this fence because he also has issues with people cutting through. So people, instead of walking down the street to go Chestnut or walking towards Middle, we're right in the middle. They cut through because they're on their way back and forth from Parrot for currently free parking.
Okay, thank you. Would we want to stipulate that whatever final plan gets decided on at least gets filed with you?
We can do that. Perfect. All right, that will bring us to item number 8 this evening, which is 93 Pleasant Street. This project here has been before us for public hearings and subsequent admin approvals for various different things. The applicant here today is proposing some changes to the previously approved design. The chimney height is not the exact same as the existing chimneys. There is a chimney height restriction that capped that new chimney that we approved at a lower height. So they're asking to be able to move forward with the lower height that is built there now. There's a missing balustrade section, and then there are shorter crown moldings on the porch and tablatures, and cap moldings over the window head were omitted, and we will see those right here. So as you can see, the new chimney is quite a bit shorter, and that again is due to the height restriction on the chimneys. I believe the applicant is here. If anyone has further questions on the building or inspection side of that, might be able to answer why those height restrictions are in place now. As you can see here, this was the previously approved balustrade section. The as-built is missing just that one tiny section there from the railing over to the column. This particular graphic just shows that the shorter crown moldings were installed at the porch and tablatures, as mentioned, and it calls out the previously approved in the as-built, and similarly with the cap moldings over the window heads that were omitted.
So we are approving the omissions.
Yeah. Any specific questions on any of those individual items or with this application as a whole?
Just wanted to thank Tracy for how well she lays things out for us to see. Thank you.
Okay. With that, we will move right along to item number 9, which is 650 Islington Street, Unit C2. The proposal here is for exterior HVAC equipment, multiple condensers, exterior condensers. And you can see here on the plan, they show a total of 4 condensers. Let's see. These, and you can see a side view here. They will be on snow stands, it looks like. And these will be, visible from the parking lot area. If you're driving by, you might not notice it so much with cars parked there, but certainly if you're walking around the building, these will be noticeable. It looks like they are proposing vertical exterior line sets. They are very difficult to see, my apologies, but you can see there's a vertical line running from each of the 3 condenser spots. It runs straight up to the 2nd floor level. My assumption is based on the coloring, that they would be open to painting it to match, the brick as much as possible.
Are they proposing any screening?
Screening was not part of this application. I would think that they would be open to screening options. We can always stipulate one of our wood screening options if that's appropriate.
Even if the wood is painted a brick color or something, I don't know if it's too. Is there anyone here to speak to this property? I would love to know if the proximity to the parking spaces is going to be a problem with putting screening in there. So.
Well, it looks like there might be some sort of parking balustrades, or at least they might show that that's where cars can park up to. So they may have room to do that.
Okay.
We can stipulate that if they can't do that for that reason, then
They can come back to
they
us.
can come back.
Okay.
I would just like to comment with regard to the screening, the height of these units, how far they are off the ground. I wonder if the applicant would consider taking a look at what we did, or what the owners of the Darfenstryker building, where they had those condensers way up high, and they built something for that. Painted black, as the door is painted black, that they could actually turn this into something that doesn't look like the backside of a house, that actually looks attractive. So I don't have a problem with them putting the condensers there. I just think that they could do a better job for their building if they took a look at that as an example.
My only concern with that would be putting more equipment on the building and drilling holes into the brick to hold up that equipment, because right now it's on a stand with just the only entrance into, through the brick is for the line set units. So. But if they can do that
From the ground.
if they can put it, put brackets up there that are minimal or something, I don't know if it's possible. Yes.
I think screening's required here.
I think they're
Not a
gonna,
nice idea, required.
I think they're gonna lose those parking spaces anyway. You have to protect those things, so a screening is not gonna change the parking situation.
All right.
All right, so we've got, it looks like two stipulations. The line sets will be painted to match the brick as closely as possible, and that they will use a wood screening option, and I can show them the options that were used over at the Market Street properties. Would we like to have the proposed screening come back next month for final approval for admin?
Yes.
Just thinking the Market Street ones we did have some discussion on. Okay. Okay. The last admin approval that we have this evening is at 64 Gates Street. The applicant here is hoping to revert the single siding on the side and rear addition of the home to match the existing and the remainder of the home, which is clapboard siding. You can see here the contrast in the front to the side there. They would propose to match the existing siding, same width, material, so on and so forth.
Any questions? I was trying to see if there were any historic photos of the building on that side, but the historic photos are showing the other side of the building, so, but anyone have any issues? Yes?
On the other side of the building, is there also clapboard or is it shingle?
It's clapboard.
It's clapboard.
They've been doing repair work. They've been working spot here, spot there for the last couple of years, or at least last year. I would like to specify not only the exposure and the material, but that the clapboards align with the tops and the bottoms of the windows as they do on the front of the building. It's a subtlety, but it.
Yep.
It's hard looking at shingles to determine how old they are. The nails certainly suggest that they're fairly old, but I don't get the sense that it's as old as the house. So I'd say that this is an adaptation back when they put the kitchen shed on.
All right, that will do it for the admin approvals this evening. I will just quickly sort of go through those one more time, reiterate any stipulations, and then we can have a vote. So item number 1 was 96 State Street. We stipulated that that they use one of our pre-approved wood screening options. And I can work with the applicant on that. Item number 2, 254 Newcastle Avenue, we had a stipulation that the conduit lines would match either the siding or the trim, whichever they are running up against, as noted by the applicant. Item number 3, 404 Islington Street and 12 Union Street, was the gutters and downspouts. That's approved as presented, and I will follow up on the condenser line sets for that property. Item number 4 is 420 Pleasant Street, no stipulations. Item number 6, 235 Marcy Street, The stipulation is just that any and all mechanical or electrical equipment that is for the installation of the solar is run directly into the home and is not located on the exterior. Item number 7, 402 State Street. We stipulated just that the final plan for the fence just get dropped off to the planning department for file. Thank you for that. Item number 8, 93 Pleasant Street, no stipulations. Item number 9, 650 Islington Street, Unit C2. We stipulated that the line sets would be painted to match the brick as close as possible, and that they would be given some examples for screening from past properties. I will do that. They will come back for administrative approval for final screening design. Item number 10, 64 Gate Street. We stipulated, of course, that the new clapboards will not only match the exposure of the existing, they will be, of course, wood to match the material, but also that the exposures of the clapboards, as Dave said, would be underneath and on top of the window sills. Is that correct?
So they align.
Or they align with the top and the bottom of the window sills as they do on the front facade. And I think that is it.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve that full slate?
Motion to approve as stipulated.
Second.
All right, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right, chair votes aye. Thank you all. All right, so now we move to our public hearings. The first one is the petition of TD Corner Cottage LLC owner for property located at 112 Mechanic Street, wherein permission is requested to allow exterior renovations to an existing structure, replace faux door with a real door, as per plans on file in the planning department. Said property is shown on Assessor Map 103 as Lot 25 and lies within the General Residence B and Historic Districts. Is there anyone here for this property? No, Isaac has not had success with reaching them.
Correct, yep.
So we'll once again, I think, postpone this to the end of the meeting, and if, and hopefully if they do not show, then Isaac can be more successful in getting through to them. So could I get a motion to postpone this to the end of the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, so public hearing B is the petition of Portsmouth Savings Bank, Bank of New Hampshire, owner, and TD Bank, co-owner, for property located at 333 State Street, wherein permission is requested to allow exterior renovations to an existing structure, replace 4 doors with windows, and replace remaining exterior doors, as per plan on file with the planning department. Said property is shown in Assessor Map 116 as Lot 5 and lies within the Character District 4, Downtown Overlay, and Historic Districts. Is there anyone here for this application? Hi, please come introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Thomas Michael. I am Senior Manager of Development in New England for TD Bank.
Great, welcome, thank you. Isaac can put up your application on the screen, and if you would like to just sort of take us through what you'd like to do.
Sure. As the board probably is aware, we've had somewhat of a continual renovation going on in this building for the past, I'll say, 3 years. It's kind of like an old sweater, pull a thread, and we're finding additional things. The application tonight is for the replacement of our exterior doors and the removal. The application says removal of 4 doors and converting to a window. I think it's only 2.
Yeah, the person who had submitted the application did note that there were some minor revisions on this iteration, so,
yeah.
Yep.
So the reason this is coming up to an issue now, we've done renovation of our retail space. We've added some other additional spaces. Through those renovations, we've identified that we want to upgrade our security system on the building. Part of that is the doors that are on there are very old wooden doors. They're kind of worn out. They don't close well. So we want to replace the doors with a composite doors, similar looking, similar color, similar window style. so that they have a secure closing and our alarm system won't falsely trigger.
Okay. Is that it? Do you want to scroll through and see which ones we're talking about? It looks, so, is it just doors 7 and 8 that you want to replace with metal doors with full panel glass?
So door 7 is currently a double door, which is and that's our after-hours ATM access. Very hard to secure a double door, so we're actually proposing a single door with a glass side light to fill the space that it's in now. The doors, again, would have a similar divided light look to it. And then if you go back, I think door 8 is on the parking lot. Yeah, that door is a non-functioning door, doesn't serve a purpose, so we're actually proposing to take it out and put a bank of windows in that match the windows to the left.
Okay, so that's not what is in the application, so this is why it's very confusing. So I don't know if you got any updates from them?
I might have misspoke. Door 8, if this is door 8.
Yes.
I'm not sure the numbering of the doors in the
Okay.
application. That door is being replaced in kind. Similar style, similar look.
Okay, so for door 7 and 8 in this application, it looks like you want to replace them with metal frame doors and full light, so that's why it's not what you're presenting.
So I think they may be actually, I think our architect was proposing full light versus half light. I think that was a big discussion we had back and forth.
So we might have received a previous design. So it sounds like all the current doors will be replaced in kind, matching design, but maybe not all wood.
They will not be wood. They'll be a composite door, so we don't have the degradation issues we have now.
Right, okay. Are there any other questions?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Do you have cut sheets of the doors, these composite doors
Christian, do we?
We have shop drawings of the two back doors that we just spoke about.
but not in this presentation?
Not in this presentation, no.
Okay.
I'm not real comfortable with these composite doors without really getting a sense of what they look like. So, I'll let others speak.
Yes,
The
Susan?
notation on the printouts say replace with new aluminum doors.
Right, so
not
that was my
composite.
question.
Yeah.
Is that I guess that was a previous design idea that they're not pursuing, so this might be an outdated set.
I think that was a previous generation of the doors.
Okay.
You have the cut sheets, right, Christian? Christian is he's with our contractor doing the work there. That's why has the cut sheets.
What we presented was.
Sorry, if you want to talk, you have to come up. Just for all the people at home who are watching.
Yeah, so just to kind of clarify, like, in this example, we're proposing aluminum doors that have the appearance of a wood door. They would be factory painted green to match what we have currently. The light styles would match perfectly. I do have, not in this collection, but I do have cut sheets and photos that we can show of previous doors that have been installed that would replicate what we're trying to achieve here. We could provide cut sheets on the actual door materials themselves as well as the hardware, if that's something that
Okay.
you guys would prefer.
Yes, we would. It's, to make our decision, we have to actually really see what is going in rather than just kind of a verbal description. And not only do we need it, but the planning department and the inspection department will need that too to have on file. So,
Is there a preference the board has? I mean, so that, I asked the question is could we put a stipulation on the application that we submit the cut sheets if they meet what you're looking for? Because we don't want to submit the doors if a board member has an opposition to a metal door that looks like wood. So,
sure. We can certainly talk about that. I mean, I don't know how time sensitive this is. We can always have you guys just come back next month when you have like all of the full cut sheets and everything, or at least, a better understanding of what you're presenting and what it's going to look like, without necessarily having to order them yet.
We haven't ordered them yet.
No.
You're right. So,
We're about 10 weeks out.
okay. So I don't know if postponing for another month is going to set it back too far.
As far as I can get the information readily, pretty quickly.
Okay.
It wouldn't take me more than a couple of days to get the information submitted to Isaac, if that's would help with the board's decision.
Unfortunately, we have to vote on it together here. I mean, it is possible that we can certainly talk about how we sort of feel about this idea and give you an idea if anybody has any issues, but we will need to see the actual product and at least cut sheet and some more detail.
And the board meets monthly?
Yes.
Okay. What I'm trying to avoid, though, is that we present something, come back in a month, and, yeah. So if we can get
Absolutely.
some-
So if there are any questions, or does anybody want to make any comments on any problems or questions they have with this, with like a composite or a metal door that is?
I've heard both
Yes.
examples, and it's hard to, I'm not sure which doors are going to be metal, which one's going to be composite, what they're going to look like. Certainly, it's a commercial building, and it's not new, and I can understand the security, but I still not even sure what you're putting in there.
So I guess this is a question, if you can clarify what composite means.
Yep, I can provide images of the exact door we're going to install that would clarify exactly what it is.
Okay.
They would look like for
So
you.
it is metal or it is?
Part of the confusion is I said composite.
Okay.
Sounds like it's a metal door, and I should probably get better information before I start talking.
Okay.
We consider composite, but with the requirements for the hardware and the interior of the door, they would not hold up. We'd have the same issue in a few years. We presented an aluminum door. It's not a traditional commercial-looking door. They can make them very custom, and that's what we're proposing. It mirrors wood in appearance and almost even texture if you'd like, but they just last much longer and much more user-friendly.
And so all of the doors that you're replacing will be replicated, essentially, but in,
It'd just be we'd be taking what we have now and just turning it into an aluminum door,
Okay.
color and light pattern and all the whole smash.
okay. Yes, Mr. Adams.
The doors that are there, this is a lovely colonial revival style building, and they have doors that look like paneled doors, like wood frame panels. Can you make an aluminum door that looks like that, or is it just going to have pressed openings in it?
No, it'll have the same reveals. Like take this door for example. You've got the panels, the two panels on the bottom, and the 12 lights up top, or the 9 lights up top. That's how it'd be the exact same texture, the exact same reveal pattern on the new doors.
Well, that's extraordinary. We generally don't see that. I'd be very interested in seeing the application. Can I ask another somewhat related question? You have a brick infill that you're doing on one of the doors that you're eliminating. Are you going to mash the brick and tooth the opening and put new brick in?
Yeah, we have. In order to do it properly, you have to tooth in that opening so it matches the adjacent brick. And then there's also trim work that is adjacent that we have to try and match exactly how you have it now. So
I know you use the expression to do it properly, but there's a tradition in Portsmouth of filling openings by setting a somewhat similar brick, but not trying, because it's rare that you can so accurately blend something back in, even if you got the same brick. Some of them have been outside now for 60 years or so. But there's a tradition in Portsmouth of putting a brick infill and setting it back at 3/4 of an inch to break that color boundary. It's not really to simplify things, it's to honor the opening and be able to do a good brick infill without having brick that don't match. We've had people try to stain brick and color brick after they're installed to make them look like they blend in, but after 3-4 winters, that all fades away and the contractor's always gone and we're left with an ugly patch.
And we've done that inset before, other projects where we've taken windows out, so
Yeah.
I think it's something, it's almost like a game time call. You get the brick, and if you can't match it, than you do an inset, so.
Okay, as long as we're on the same page, I'd like to,
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, we're not really here for game time calls, so we want to make sure we know what's going on. So, I mean, I think if you were to say you would like to do the inset, obviously with hopefully matching the brick as well as you can, but that way it kind of is a little bit less pressure on making it a perfect and seamless thing.
Yeah. If you notice what we're doing with that one window, we're actually taking some existing brick out to put a wider window opening in. So we will have some salvage brick in there that we can use for infill below it.
Okay.
Might be on the next page down.
Yeah, if you go one page down.
Yeah, it's that door, number 6. It's an existing single door, and the intent is to take that opening, widen it a little bit to match the window directly to the left. Same style, just recreating that window in this opening here.
And that's a little bit incorrect the way that's drawn, because obviously you're only infilling the width of a door,
Right.
not the full width of the window.
Correct.
All right, are there any other questions about this? Yeah, let me get Larry.
Just a couple comments. One on the door material, because at one point we mentioned wood, composite, aluminum. I think at the end of the day, like, you are a bank, so you have to go with whatever makes you most secure in your assessment. But I do have a question here back on doors 8. Because the rendition then, I think it's on sheet 03. Are you going to replace that then with a full light door with no dividing? If I look at page, I think it's just labeled sheet 03.
Door 8 you're referring to?
Yeah.
So, the original proposal was to make those 2 doors. It's a storefront system with a full light, glass light with top and bottom rails.
Right.
As drawn. But if that is not acceptable, then the alternative to replicate that door
Right.
is also feasible and doable.
So what I'm looking at then on sheet 03, is it a solid metal door? Is it a glass door? What is it on? It's a sheet right above, like if you scroll up, not down. It's the next page up. Whoop,
This
there.
one? So that's a glass door. That inset is all glass, tempered glass.
Okay.
Top, bottom, and sides is aluminum.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure, thanks.
Like a storefront door you'd see like in another building.
And I guess my other question, I know you got to come back for the doors and all of that and the material and how it's going to look. Is there anything that they can be partially approved for, like filling in the brick, or do they have to wait to come back for everything?
I mean, we could give them partial approval for infilling that, sure. So can I go back to that? So you are proposing to put this in?
That was the original proposal, but
Yes.
I think at the end of the day, if it's not acceptable, the alternative is the other doors.
Is the replacement?
To replace in kind,
That's
essentially.
what I'm hearing in comments. We're not proposing a full glass door anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
If that's not gonna fly, then that kind of answers that question, and we'll proceed alternatively.
Thank you. All right, are there any other questions here?
I think we pinned it down. I think we would like to see something more closer to what you currently have.
So we can either postpone the whole thing to next month until you have those that you can present to us, and then it should be an easy discussion and vote. Or we can, if you need the partial approval of the infilled door, we can vote on that tonight. We just need to see the materials and the cut sheets for your proposing, so.
Let's just hold the whole application off.
Okay.
It's not going to make a difference. The windows are a little quicker than the doors.
Okay, all right.
But thank you.
We'll get you what we
Okay.
need for information.
Okay, thank you. I will open it up, I guess, quickly to the public in case anybody has anything to say to, for, or against this. All right, then I won't close it. I'm going to ask for a postponement to next month,
Motion to,
or continuance, excuse me.
motion to postpone, so.
To continue to next month,
Continue.
right?
Yep.
Okay,
Seconded.
thanks. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye. Okay, thank you for that.
Appreciate your time. And we'll get a notice from Isaac or somebody that, meeting date and time.
Exactly.
Yes, it'll
Yep.
be.
It'll be in the letter of decision. Yep.
All right,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right. Our next one is public hearing, new business, number 2, the petition of Jane Vanny Myers, owner for property located at 195 Washington Street, wherein permission is requested to allow the demolitions and removal of the existing shed and the construction and placement of a new shed as per plan on file in the planning department. Said property is shown on Assessor Map 103 as Lot 78 and lies within the General Residence B and Historic Districts. Who is here for this application? Hi, please come up.
I'm Jane.
Hello. All right. Right, that one was postponed. Okay, so please, I'm sorry, please introduce yourself and just.
Hi, I'm Jane Vanny. I'm owner of the house of 195 Washington Street. I purchased it in 2023, and I've pulled in every day to that. Leaning more, maybe if we took it from the other side, but it doesn't have probably another winter in it, so. And I have 6 bikes in my house that I would like to store them, so that's why I'm here, wanting a new shed.
Okay.
And then I know that you had included this as sort of an example, and I do have the other 2 photos that show sort of the exact same shed, just different sides. Do you kind of want to run through if this is the exact, proposed shed that you want, and kind of run through the materials?
So it's currently it's a cedar shed that's there, tongue and groove siding. It does have architectural shingles on top, so I don't know really the age of it. There's an established concrete foundation underneath the shed, so it would just be replacing the same size. It's a 10 by 16 shed, 10 foot 9 shed. I think it's like a 6 foot, 6 something pitch. I don't know how to explain that. There wouldn't be windows, so the way that shed is depicted right there, the windows wouldn't be there because basically I'm surrounded by 3 walls of a fence, probably about 8 feet. So there's no point of having windows on that side. The windows would be on the other side of the shed, but still, again, there's a fence, but I'm just trying to get light.
And the transom at the top?
Yep, I would keep the transom instead of, you can see on the dilapidated shed that there are just 2 holes. I don't know what technically was a window there. There's black mat, so I would do that and then do the barn doors. No ramp.
It just seems a shame that we're going to lose a relic from the Great War.
Which war?
Looking at the size of the opening, I'd say some that had like Model T cars.
You don't have the back end of it with the tree. So there's no roof. I'm trying, there's nothing in the second half of it.
You don't want to restore it?
I like my bikes, but I don't like them that much. So.
And Jane, sorry if you did mention this, but with the new shed, you would be doing at least a wood siding.
It's all cedar.
Yep. Okay. And just keeping with the same architectural shingle roof. And,
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Same color,
Wonderful.
so no color to it, just cedar, so it'll just age however.
Okay. Yep.
Any other questions? We do have sort of your verbal description of the dimensions and stuff, but we don't really have any sort of drawing for the new shed. Did you give?
So do you have that other picture with the?
Yep. 1 second. Bear with me.
And then I did give a thing of like the measurements where it says like the walls are 7 feet. It's exactly in kind.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so that one has like a dormer on it. I'm not doing the dormer, so that's how it will look with and not the ramps. Do you see how like there's a dormer there?
Yeah.
So I'm not doing that. And then there was a thing where it kind of explained like the width of the boards, the cedar, the pitch of the roof. the number of windows, that was itemized. I just don't have an architect, I just don't have,
Sure, that's fine. We didn't
Four
get
walls.
this in our package. So, I don't know if you've got dimensions on there that can be,
Didn't,
Put
unless
on
they were, were the
It's on
dimensions,
the-
were they just in the email
Yeah.
itself? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, all right. So,
I don't know if, I mean, does anyone have any other questions? Do we need to see the dimensions now, or is it acceptable enough just to have them on file and know that it's going to match the footprint of what is there, what existing now?
I think if it's replacing the present structure, I'm not sure we need them.
If the doors, or those front doors, if those sliding doors, if they're 7 foot or 6'8", I have a sense of the scale of this thing.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, great. All right.
We did, thank you, Martin. We know that the floor is going to be the same. Is the height the same? Okay. As long as that's stipulated.
I
The
put that on the
dimensions are
application as well,
exactly
the same, the 10 by 16 and 10, 9.
Okay, great, thank you.
I want a cupola, but not today, so.
Okay. Are there any other questions? All right, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak to or against this application? I'm guessing there's no one online. Nope. All right. I'll close the public hearing and wait for a motion on this.
Motion to approve as presented?
Wait a second.
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 All right, do you have the findings of fact, please?
I believe it preserves the integrity of the district and is consistent with the special and defining character of the surrounding properties.
Anything else to add? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now we're moving on to work sessions. And we've got work session Old Business B, which is a work session requested by Brian Johnson, owner for property located at 126 State Street, unit number 8, wherein permission is requested to allow exterior renovations to an existing structure, construct new roof structure to include dormers for additional interior space, construct multi-story box window bay and entry portico, as per plans on file in the planning department. Said property is shown on Assessor Map 107 as Lot 57-8 and lies within the Character District 4 and Historic Districts. All right, as this is a work session, we can go down to the table and have a friendly chat.
No, I just wasn't sure who was sitting where.
Great. So, can you guys introduce yourselves?
Brian Johnson, the owner. Maybe a little context of why we're doing this. We've been there for 13, going on 14 years. Recently had a child, 10 months old. We love to stay there. We love the neighborhood. So trying to do something that we can get second bedroom. It's a 1-bedroom now, and hopefully improve the building a little bit.
I'm Brandon Holden with Winter Holden.
I'm Glenn Lambert, also with Winter Holden.
All right, so we saw you all last month. not the same makeup of people, but,
It's in Colorado.
so, yeah, why don't you lead us through what you have?
Yes, we took all the feedback that we received and developed the design, kind of selected an option to move forward with. And we have some improvements here based on that feedback and other decisions, and just kind of roll through that. But you know the building, it's maybe one of the longest, skinniest buildings in Portsmouth, potentially. And that was part of the incentive here, and I think really, the row house that's happening on State Street, and then there was just this never-ending L that sort of extended back to Court. And I think what we're really trying to do with this rotated gable, which is the direction we'd like to go, is sort of bookend this, never-ending structure with a sort of similar but more residential wood frame scale of it at the Court Street side. So that's sort of the general direction. You can see sort of the existing L that extends out, and that was one of the things we saw, is this sort of the fascia that just keeps going all the way out there. And we really wanted to sort of break that roof line, and kind of took that as an opportunity to sort of twist this gable, really steepen that roof, and which is what gives you the ability to create this extra space they're looking for, while also, I think, solving some of the issues that we see with the existing building as it was built, 20-ish years ago or so, maybe. So moving on to page 5 here, we got we started the proposed 3D views. So this is the rotated gable. We steepened the roof pitch up to a 12-12 for the primary roof, which gives you the visibility, a little more of the roof kind of wrapping around it there, a little more visible from the street front presence. We simplified the third floor windows, kind of removed those transoms, kind of shortened that up with the dropping of that eave line, and anchored the bay off of that, which I think is going to be a nice clean detail there. We had a sort of more modern balcony on the opposite side, but we brought around more of a Juliet style balcony over the driveway side to kind of give them their escape opening and some fresh air and daylight into that new bedroom space upstairs. Kind of went with the 1-2 stacked pattern that was going on with the building, and continued that going up with the projecting window bay, just kind of, but then adding windows on the side of the window bay as well, which sort of lightens that up, kind of creates more views through it. But then the dormer is also stacking that window pattern as we go up there. You can see the slender windows on the side of the window bay here, so to give you that little more lightness and airiness to the projecting window bay.
Page 6.
Yes, page 6. Starts to show the side looking down from Court Street. And again, with fleshing out that wall where we're on the property line, we created another faux window detail up in the gable of the new addition at the top. Page 7, we've got some design precedent here, kind of expanding that, looking at some other projecting window bays, kind of a raised panel box bay look, some kind of nice examples around town that we found. And then here, we have the scaled elevations on page 8, looking at it from Court Street, as well as the driveway elevation from the west, and the opposing property on the east. We submitted, we're setting up for the next meeting, but we submitted some of the window data, and we did select the Anderson Place with their, so we're kind of matching this window that is there, which is a clad wood window. But they list, so it's not a it is a simulated divided light, but it does have the light block in it. That's what we're proposing, which is what Anderson calls their full divided light. Which gets you sometimes.
So even though you have the simulated circled,
yes. We'll correct that. It'll be the full divided light with the light spacer. It's usually when I think of a full divided light, it's a true divided true divided light, which they have two options within that. And that's a white exterior as well there, to match what's there. But that's basically the intent, is to kind of match and even reuse some of the ones that are in good shape. Yeah, showing floor plans, so you have the kind of expanded kitchen on the ground floor and the stair up to the loft floor plan with the new bathroom up there and the bedroom space. You got some sections on page 12, just different cuts kind of showing some of the complexities of the space, but able to kind of work it all out. And we did introduce sort of a winder stair at the top there to kind of get the headroom to work, and could be a great little project here. That's the end of the presentation. If you have any questions.
Any discussion, questions?
Page 9, tell me about the thing between you and the other unit at the roof line. We see it from the side. Someday we'll get a view from the other, from the next door neighbor's side, but tell me what that is. Is that a cover for a staircase?
Yes, yeah. So it's a dormer in the back, and it's gabled, shedding off to the sides, and it's shown on the roof plan as well as the. Oh yeah, we'll get that in there. We'll get the roof.
In the bottom right-hand corner of page 12.
Sure. Yeah, there's the cut through that section of it. So we get the ridge hitting the existing roof in the back there, so that's what we centered it on.
Okay, I don't know that this is where we're headed, but just to say, I'm pleased that there aren't holes in the sidewall like there had been in the previous round. I'm comfortable with much of what I see here. I do like the theme of putting a termination on this long building. All works for me. The two-story bay, I think, could get details in a more convincing way for me. But that seems awkward, that lump over the stairs. And I need to get convinced that that's the thing that we should be doing. But other than that, I'm kind of much more excited about this than I was last time.
The question is the ridge of that little gabled stair cover at the same height essentially as the ridge line is currently?
Yes, is that this?
Or essentially about the
Yes.
same? So
Yeah, you
there
see the
already
existing
is a ridge line there.
couple inches above that, but in line with that.
So this comes right to the wall, the side wall of the building? That, you're saying this is a vestige of that other building after we finish chainsawing the roof away?
I'm just wondering about the height of it.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering about the height. It looks like it might come out more since it has to envelop a larger space. But
The current eave line of the building is just above the windows on the sidewall on the second floor. And this is a whole floor above that.
I'm just talking about the ridge line, not the eave line, so,
I can't do the ridge line.
yeah, it's hard to know.
Anyway, okay. Yep.
It wasn't answering your question, I was just
Yeah.
clarifying for myself too.
Just simplifying the look of it, one approach would be to sort of tie this into that on the back there and eliminate this coming down, which would sort of clean that up a bit. The siding would just sort of extend into it. And it would sort of create a stronger break there instead of this looking like the appendage back there. It would start to integrate it more with the main gable.
They do something similar. I think you put the example in there, just down the street at the Sailmakers.
Yeah, like this sort of detail where the gable sort of creates that almost a scupper to let the water shoot off there.
Is
sorry, which one are you pointing to?
Oh, the middle on page 7. Sort of the detail where the gable coming down is shortened as it extends into the larger body there.
Sorry, the two-story box bay, 198 Islington Street, or the other
Oh,
one?
314 Court, lower middle of page 7.
It's that roof of the existing building and the sidewall, getting truncated. Well, that's the,
It cleans it up. It's
well,
like
just saying, I think, I was just making a comment, I was getting on board with this thing. Don't hurt me here, but I was thinking that this was coming to a close, and that seemed like it needed to be regularized more. But mostly because I don't know what it is or even the whole of what it looks like. But
right. That's the headroom. As you come up the stair, that's where you have to walk up to get to the upper level.
I mean, I think what would help is a roof plan.
Yeah, I just made a note of that, so we will have that as well. But yeah, the section cut back here shows you that this is the dash blue lines, our 6'8" headroom. There's a little bit of room to lower that some, but not much. Technically, we could probably drop it, that fascia.
it's just the roof appurtenances that are right next to it, and the new one that you're planning on putting on the front facade toward the street, those are all shed roofed. And this all of a sudden is like a vestige of a gable roof.
Yeah, just the practicality of butting into this larger structure. And we need to get the water going to the sides there, but we could look at something lower slope, so it's still shedding, but appears to be.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. I'm not suggesting it should
you're
direct
not
itself into a corner.
Well, you're never going to see the top of this from public view. This is the most public view of it, is from this perspective. So there's
Few of us go down that alleyway that far to see that. Yes, it's true.
Yeah, well,
the
private
alley's
alley.
private.
Yeah, this is the neighboring property.
It doesn't completely stop us.
Unless they put a gate up.
Put a gate up,
It's got to be 5 feet at least. You don't jump it.
Martin?
Yeah, I'm not bothered by that. I would think a shed would be easier to frame and the headroom and the whole bit.
Yeah.
Coming off the ridge.
Yeah.
Right? To me, it's like way up, twist yourself around it.
Yeah, if you simplified a shed in the back, it would actually raise that up a little bit.
I think you're on the right track and everything is much improved over the last time. The only thing that bothers me is you have that Romeo balcony, or is it Juliet balcony? Sorry,
What do you prefer?
I didn't get the story. And then there's a slider. The slider is, just more of a modern feature. If you could do something.
All right, with the double inside.
Yeah.
You fine with that?
I was going to
That'd
ask
be
you
great.
that if you wanted to change that, so that's fine.
There you go.
Then I'd have then to me it'd be,
Yeah.
I wanted to follow up on that particular question, because I know the last time you came, you were interested in having a little bit of outdoor space, so that maybe you can even have like a grill or something, and a Juliet balcony does not offer you that. Did you find that you could not have a larger balcony on the side?
You could do a projecting balcony. I didn't start to sketch that with, kind of bringing in some bracket details there, and you probably could get a little.
Yeah, I mean,
3-foot balcony there.
if that would be acceptable.
I don't know where everyone else stands. I want to make sure that you're happy.
Yeah.
That's,
Are there restrictions for projecting anything over over a driveway? I guess would be my question, and that's a code thing.
Yeah,
it's on the property.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in the property, and there's no coverage issues here, so it's.
As long as it's your car in the driveway. I know that's a bad joke. All right. If I can throw in my 2 cents. I wasn't here last month, but I really do like the way, in reference to what Dave said about the building goes on forever and ever and ever. And I think you had 2 more evers in there, Dave. But anyway, I love the way you turned this whole thing around, and you got that roof coming up like that. I think that's beautiful. What, I forget who was talking, oh, shoot, I did it again. Okay, I think that's the page, yeah. On this page here, I think this was where you were somebody was asking about this. So, I'm not an architect, he is, and you are. But here's my question. For symmetry, what if this shed dormer is just a hair higher and that roof from a shed dormer intersects here, and then you have a matching shed dormer over here? Then that gets rid of that, whoever said changing from shed to gable, then you got shed. And then he has more room. And the more you, let me say it this way, big problem in Portsmouth is downtown ain't affordable for families. And if this guy can keep his family there, you know, hey, that's one more family in downtown Portsmouth. That's my 2 cents.
Great, no, that's all good.
But I don't know if you can do a shed. That's
So the problem is on the driveway side, you end up hitting this, right? The shed ends up hitting the side, going straight into the sidewall. So we'd have to, we could make it appear as a shed, and then we'd have to do something like this, where we kind of create an outlet for that water. That's
almost like a hip, like a shed with a hip.
Yeah, just so it redirects it down and almost down the side.
Just thinking on my feet.
That was the idea of turning it, was to keep it from running into that sidewall.
Okay.
But I think there's a solution back here that could work better and give them a little more headroom in there. And if we can get this up high enough, we just have to deal with this one section of the roof here where we're sloping into that wall.
It might even give him more room.
Yeah.
I just want to add that I think these changes are great. I think you got rid of that hole in the side building and still able to bring some light and a little bit of balcony to you. And I like the idea of the breaking the roof line and ending the building with the shed dormer. And I love the front piece. I think it really looks cool.
Yeah, and we'll
Good
provide
job.
more details and scaling of that.
You know, and if you do get a room for a girl back there, you're going to have a lot more friends in that whole front part of the building.
Yeah, right. Can you make it on Saturday?
Yeah.
I hate to be the negative voice. I like the appurtenance on the front. I think that actually does give the end of the building something other than just a flat face, and I think that's great.
No personality.
But unfortunately, I don't find the front face of a shed dormer over the face of another to be anything other than just the continuation of a wall. I personally don't read the eave of the bottom of the roof as anything other than the fake bottom of a roof. To me, it reads as one long big wall. So when you talk about trying to end the building, but yet I'm looking at what appears to be the side of a shed dormer, that doesn't read to me as the end of a building. It reads to me as the side of a building, or a flat face to the front of the building.
Like something more decorative with a dormer even?
Well, as others have said, I'm not an architect, but the way the building is designed right now does read to me more as the end of a building. Traditionally, it's the end. That's typical roof line, single window. That's the end of a building. It just happens to be stuck on the back of a very, very long building, which is to its detriment. But this reads to me as the end of a very, very long building, but it does read as the end of a building. What you've done has changed the aspect of the building, but it doesn't seem to make, the roof is not making it end to me. The box bay, yes. So that dormer personally, it just doesn't work for me. It doesn't accomplish what you've told me you want to accomplish in terms of ending the building. So I'm looking at the example of 198 Islington Street, where you have that gable end, you have the box bay. It has a traditional return on the runners, which your current building doesn't have. And I think that, I mean, it seems like a tiny, tiny detail, but it does make it read to me as more of an end when you have those returns. So I'm just gonna point that out, and then I'm going to say something bizarre and ask if a hip roof with a doghouse dormer would accomplish the ending of a building, because it's very traditional to have that sort of end, particularly on the front of a building. You would, depending on the size of the knee wall and the shape of the roof, may give you the room you're looking for. I don't know. I'm not an architect. I don't know the measurements, but I do know that that type of roof with the hip, with the doghouse dormer, often reads as the front or the back of the end of a house roof. And I can point out, if you drive down Broad Street between Jones and South, they're just building such a house. They've made too small a doghouse dormer. But there are examples of it all over the place. I just happen to know that one is sitting right there. So I agree with everybody else that this is a big improvement. I just don't feel that this particular shed dormer is accomplishing what you said you want in terms of having a nice ending to the building.
Heard.
Anyone else? Any other comments?
I'll just say I don't have a strong opinion on this. I think it looks really good now compared to what we saw, so really good improvements. This is just gonna be a random, since the balcony would be a nice thing. If you look at, I have no idea, I'm gonna throw out just a random idea too. If you look at the Church Street one where they have the balcony on top of the dormer, even though it'd be in the front of the building, just pointing at it.
Yeah, create some decoration there. All right.
Just an idea, but.
Same thing, make it go. Walk out here.
You know,
Oh, they do that down
it's
there.
not a silly thought. I'm sort of
Yeah.
not bothered, but I'm less than excited by the melding of the roof of your box bay and the roof of the new proposed roof of the building. It doesn't seem to be quite enough of a separation between the two. They seem to blend a little bit more than, I don't know. Sometimes because one of these things is if you put a two-story bay like this on a four-story building, then you have building facade above it, you get to put a roof on this thing, and that's that, or a balcony. This just sort of kind of melts together. But you know, a little bit of trim and a paint definition or something like that, and that would all go away. I don't think it's a killer, but it's just a thing that I noticed and wondered if there wasn't some opportunity for a little crenellation or something. Maybe a place for Larry's rotisserie.
There you go.
But yeah,
Oh, no, wait, no, I'm buying a rotisserie.
On what you said there, would it make sense for it to extend up and into the dormer above?
That's what I was
Yeah,
effectively
no,
suggesting.
It's a thing, I don't know how broke they want to go.
Yeah.
That'd be something that creates that.
I was wondering if maybe the part of the issue with the dormer looking funny is that there are little windows, so could you extend those paired windows to down so that it would be a full-length double hung or something? And then I don't know what the inside and roof lines do.
Yeah, I mean, we can do one of those details
Just
where you
further
sort of
down, 4
notch
buildings
out of
down
the
with the water
roof
from
and
there.
go shorter.
Same dormers, same smaller windows. It's a,
But you have
Just
the
down the
example there on
Yeah.
Church Street, so.
I'll just, if everybody's done.
Looks good.
I'll
Yeah.
Just say that I also think that this is a really good direction that you came. Thank you for came to thank you for listening to all of our comments last month, because we had lots of different viewpoints and bringing it all together. It is simple, but at the same time, dressing it up enough to make it its own building, whereas it looks very stark and kind of awkward now. So I appreciate all that. I don't have a problem with turning the gable end and having the corner there. I think what we're used to seeing is a side hall plan, or what people call New Englanders, which is, the side placed front door beneath a gable somewhere up there, a gable end. And so this is a little bit flipped. I don't, but in my opinion, this is still a new building. So it's still got all of those aspects of having a dormer and having the side placed, sort of the side hall front entryway. And all of these aspects are kind of that historic language of a house, the sort of traditional pieces that are put together. And so I think you've done it in a way that is, that flows and is proportional and all of that stuff, where it could go wrong when you're just trying to throw together some traditional elements. But I think that you've hit a good balance here. So I'm very happy with how this is going. I think it will be a vast improvement, certainly to your space, but also to the building. So thank you for putting so much energy and effort into it.
I have one question about the gable end, where right now the windows look like 5 dark rectangles. I can't tell by looking at them. I keep making the image larger. Those don't appear to have the same number of divided lights as the rest of the building. Are those shutters over there?
Yeah, they're faux window. It's a wall, so it's just a faux detail over, because it's a firewall.
They can't actually have window openings there, unfortunately.
Okay.
So
it makes it better than just a blank wall.
Sure. Okay.
So the 4 on the lower ones are existing, and we added one.
And I did watch last month's meeting in its entirety, so I would know what was going on tonight.
Thank you.
Question on that.
Yes.
The idea of this balcony in the front, and I guess this different roof line, that would be something would be acceptable to.
I think it sounds like it could be, depending on how you detail it. I also don't know, would you be able to have a full-length window there if the face of that dormer is set back as it is?
That can make a well.
Right, we would, well, if we made that a balcony,
Yeah.
the height works out, yes, where we can do a little threshold that you step over and onto the deck.
Balcony over top of the bay.
Over the box bay.
And we can actually do a little roof projection to get rid of the shed dormer. We could make something interesting there that kind of completes the window bay, so.
Sure. In concept, but in execution, we'd have to see.
Yeah.
And then with that, this dormer would still continue over as it is, still full length.
Yeah. Yeah, it's whether I think they were trying to see if we could get a double hung in there, which we can look at sort of maxing that out and see if we might be able to squeeze in a small double hung there.
All right, well, play around with it, see what you think.
Okay. Yeah, that might be, I think we'd like to go, set up for a work session / public hearing.
Sure.
So we might look at a couple, just have something to present on these modifications and some of these solutions for the back here, so we can discuss
And
that.
a roof.
Yeah.
Roof.
Roof plan.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll include that. We'll have more details on the bay, the
Super.
brackets, all that stuff.
Great. Anyone from the public wishing to speak? Anyone online? Okay.
Nope.
All right, great. Then I will, unless there's any other comment, I will take a motion to close this work session.
So moved. Second.
Sorry, did you have?
I was going to just say one thing.
Okay.
Has nothing to do with the design, but when you come back, like, okay, these windows are blacked out and these are white. Like, if they're all the same, and even if it's the Romeo and Juliet thing, if it's just even, whatever you do in real life, whatever, but if it's just shown, you know, the same color as the clapboards here, it just might even look even more harmonious. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Just throwing that out there.
Great out for you.
Which has nothing to do with your design. It's just, you know,
Paint it whatever
if it's
color
all
you
the,
want.
if it's all the same color, it might,
Yeah.
it might even, you know, just pop out more for you.
Pink corsage.
Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, chair votes aye. Thank you. Thanks. Good luck. All right, and our last work session of the evening is work session presented by Partners Bank of New England, owner for property located at 501 Islington Street, wherein permission is requested to allow exterior renovations, replace all windows, add new siding and trim details, new lighting, and the removal of a chimney, as per plans on file in the planning department. Said property is shown on Assessor Map 157 as Lot 6 and lies within the Character District 4L2 and Historic Districts. Who's here to present this?
Hi, good evening. I'm Sarah Horahan from Lassell Architects, and Cheyenne McGrath is also with me. She is also from Lassell Architects. So we are here representing Partners Bank.
Great. I'm very excited to talk about this building, actually.
Oh, good. We are too. Okay. And you all have a copy. Yep, hold on. So we'll just go page by page if that works. So the first page locates where this property is located, 501 Islington, next to Dunkin' Donuts, which is kind of where everybody kind of recognizes or locates it. So we were able to find an image of the existing building from the Athenaeum. This is the only image we could find, but through a lot of kind of scoping, so you might have, if you've driven by recently, you probably see that there's all sorts of little patches of tape everywhere. So we're really trying to confirm what the existing building looks like beneath layers of EIFS that were, I believe it was installed in the 90s. And so what we're finding is pretty true to what you see here, especially along the Islington Street side. And the bank came to us with this vision. They recently purchased the entire building. There are active commercial tenants in the building, but they would love to do an exterior renovation just to make it more in keeping. Also knowing that this part of town has been added to the historic district, so you know, wanting it to feel more part of the gateway to this historic area. So the next page are the existing site photos, and you can even see the little patches here. So again, EIFS was installed, we believe, sometime in the 90s over the existing brick that you saw in the rendering before. So we were able to confirm the areas where we have existing brick and where we don't have existing brick. Because it was a car workshop, there are large openings that we don't have brick, and they've infilled that with wood wall framing. And that's where you see kind of all these windows, and there's kind of this awkward recess between the windows. And so what we are proposing to do is to remove all of the EIFS and expose as much brick as we can. Through our exploratory reports, we're finding that the condition of the existing brick behind is actually not all that great. It's been patched in a lot of places, but because of the adhesive that they use for the EIFS, it's really hard. You know, they've tried sandblasting it and using different solutions to try to pull that off, and so it's proving to be a little bit challenging in terms of trying to restore that existing brick. We're also not quite sure what we're going to find when we pull that off. So it is 3 layers thick, and we're not sure what they did for moisture management. And so part of what we would love to talk to you tonight about is the idea of pulling off all the EIFS and then maybe introducing some rigid insulation along the exterior, and then facing what we're showing as brick with a thin set brick veneer, so that we still have that appearance of brick. And especially in keeping with the areas where we have existing brick, we would like to maintain that. So we'd love to chat with you about that as an option. And then where we have the wood framing in between, we're proposing that we would clad that in a hardy panel and paint it a darker color, similar to a storefront system that you'd see down in not storefront in terms of like aluminum storefront, but what you would see in kind of downtown Portsmouth, where you have the wood paneling, your doors, your larger windows, and kind of a painted wood application, and then the brick would be on these piers here, and trying to maintain as much brick as we can along this one-story piece where the bank branch exists. Part of the proposal is also new windows, so replacing the awful slider windows that are in there right now with what we're proposing is a fiberglass, the Pella Impervia line, and introducing some grills into those windows as well, just to be more consistent with other buildings nearby. So this first page is the view that you see from Islington Street. The next page is the view that if you're standing kind of with your back to Dunkin' Donuts, looking at the main entry point to the building. So we would retain, this is an existing canopy that has some copper detailing on it, and we would retain that, just kind of repair in kind. And we're also looking to replace the wall pack light units that they have with kind of an up-down sconce, just to kind of wash those brick piers. One other thing to point out is at some point, if a third story was added, and that actually steps in, so there's the kind of brick base of the existing building, and then they have the wood frame kind of set within that, and then they have a steel structure within that this third floor was kind of placed on top of. And so this third floor, we're proposing to also just have a hardy panel system here, replace the windows, but look at it as kind of a lighter piece, so it kind of goes away, and the brick portion really reads as a two-story piece. And then we are proposing just a metal roof covering to help with the kind of stepping in of that third story. This is the next page is the backside. This is, if your back's to the train tracks, what you would see. And then this last elevation is the drive-through side. So as you're coming down Islington, kind of leaving town towards the west end, that elevation that you see there. The next page, we have some precedent images for kind of what we're proposing with this idea of retaining the brick piers. Because we do have some existing brick that's still kind of in the middle of some of these piers, it's so sporadic that we've found that it would just take a lot of effort to try to not only repair it, but also kind of infill and add more brick, that we're just looking as these as brick piers as the structure, and then this whole piece in between as kind of the infill piece. So we have some precedent images there. And then the last page is, or the second to last page, again, we're proposing a thin set brick veneer. So it is a real brick. It's just cut thinly so that we can apply it to the face of, hopefully, a zip R sheathing, so we can get some insulative properties, a new air barrier, and we can address the water drainage from the existing brick on the inside. So those are all things that we're talking through with our team and contractors. And proposing the Pella Impervious fiberglass windows. We would be doing black on the first two levels and then transitioning to a white on the third floor. And then the last page, which I think was this part of your submission. I can share it with you. Cheyenne
with a little help from AI, was able to very quickly generate a 3D perspective. So, pass it around. Yeah, we have some other copies too, so I'm happy to pass it around. So just to give you like a quick idea of.
You just said on the third floor, white windows, but it's like all the photos or drawings, renderings have black on the third floor.
No, that is true. I believe the intention was for it to be white, so it might just be how it's, our elevations.
Oh, yeah. It might be so, like, small detailed that it
Yeah,
shows
that
black,
it's-
like heavy lines.
Yeah, but our intention would be to match the color of the trim on the third floor, so that it's not really a stark contrast.
A minor question, but it's just inconsistent.
Yeah, no, good catch, thank you. We'll be more clear about that.
Okay. Any questions, reactions, discussion?
I really like it. I don't doubt you would be successful, and I would not push you to try to save the old brick. My only comment after seeing the other rendering is I think the light fixtures that are sort of up on the second floor, given that they are over a very tall and very long pillar, could do with a little more substantial weight, or have two, one on each floor. They just look lost up there.
On the proposed,
These little guys.
yes.
Just look lost.
And you're talking about the light fixtures
Yes,
themselves?
the light fixtures themselves.
Okay, yeah, so something a little more substantial, or,
I think the height of the building,
Yeah.
the weight of that, it could just do with something a little more.
yeah, absolutely.
Other question, so on the existing photos, it's a little hard to see, but on the renderings, you have like 2 columns coming up from the roof. Is one new?
Elevator overruns?
On East 2?
Yeah.
So those are existing towers and they are to remain.
Oh, the towers, yes, so those are the stair towers.
Yeah.
And you do have a chimney to be removed.
The chimney will
Yep.
be, yes, that's a good point. So where can we see that?
We can see that in
these
photo
pictures?
3 on the existing photos.
Yes, yep. It's right above the one-story, the Partners Bank branch, painted.
Yeah. It blends in. Yes, Martin?
Anything was gonna improve that. But there's 2 reasons this is such an unsatisfactory piece of architecture. One is the skin. The skin is awful, and you're gonna address that. But the other is the massing, because you get that little portion that is on Islington Street. The front entrance addresses the parking lot, not the street. That's part of why it's unsuccessful. I'm just wondering if you could do something to be more urban friendly and provide a little more of an entrance sense on Islington, or something with the.
Originally, the front door was on Islington.
Yes, exactly. And that would go along, I mean, it's not a deal killer, but that would go a long way to make this successful. Now, the new skin, are you looking at a thin brick set within an insulated panel? Because I've seen those systems.
No, not necessarily. Where is our, it's probably, oh, this isn't cutting through the thin brick necessarily, is it?
Sounded like foam with zip sheathing over it.
Yeah, so we were,
Thin set brick on here.
yeah, so we'd have the zip R up against the kind of existing brick, and then we would attach the thin set veneer to the outside of that.
Just curious, maybe a little more articulation in the brick and that low massing might give it some presence. Right now, that's a weakness that's inherent into this building, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
And we did bring a
otherwise-
couple samples
otherwise, like you said, very exciting to see the possibilities with this. Quite
And
improvement.
I was going to bring up, I don't know if anyone remembers, but I was on the commission maybe 10 years ago when they brought back and put these big heavy moldings all around the top in an effort again to try and give it a little bit of a facelift. And
It's really not that kind of a building.
it's not. So, I'm so glad that you found that image, because I always wondered, what is up with this thing? And, when we were first pulling together the design guidelines, stucco kept being, in our list of materials, and I was like, what the heck? We don't have any stucco in Portsmouth. What is going?
Women's
And
club.
then,
The Tudor. The Tudor is
next door to the women's club, there is that one stucco and a little bit. But then at one point I saw that and I was like, oh, but that's not that stucco is not really
Drywall
stucco.
and stucco are two different things.
And it's not. It is just so out of place here, and so it makes so much more sense to see that it was a brick.
Yeah.
Automotive, industrial building. And I'm just so glad that we're going back to this industrial feel, because that's what this Islington Street was, and this whole area was so much more industrial in the early to mid 20th century. And there are remnants of that, but I feel like we're kind of far enough removed from that when it was looked upon as industry was sort of invading this neighborhood, and now we can kind of have enough perspective to say, no, this is, again, part of the history and the development of the West End. So honoring that, I think, is great. It was very exciting to me.
When they put that skin on it, they were very rough with the building. You were going to be disappointed with what you get.
Yeah. And that's why we started having these conversations pretty early on, because originally we started with, we want to expose all the brick, this will be great, and we'll just patch where we need to. And then through these exploratory reports, we're finding that it's just not what we were hoping it would be. But so that's why we're kind of introducing a new.
What does the original brick, is it more orange or is it more
This
brown
is
red?
the only picture that we have, and it's a
When you're
rendering.
finding anything?
Oh, when we're finding things, it's a little. Do we have pictures of that?
Not readily.
It's a little bit all over the place. Like it doesn't match. I would say there's variation in some of the brick that we're finding, which might be more in line with this, but color tone. Yeah.
Well,
We'll
it's
have to look
probably
at
been
those
changed by
pictures
the
and try to
stucco.
find-
I mean, it's probably been chemically changed by the stucco over
Yeah.
all those years.
Yeah.
My 2 cents, I like it. I think it fits in well with the historic button factory and also with the renovation of the Frank Jones. I mean, I think you're right there.
Yeah.
So that's,
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. That's it.
That's what I love about this proposal, is that it brings in the elements that you're seeing just behind it. In all the newly restored buildings. And it makes more sense in this space,
I do have a question. I really liked Martin's comment about having it be connected to the street. Is that something that you're going to explore?
We will definitely explore it. My first thought is ADA might be a concern with an entry on this side, because the sidewalk is pretty tight up against that face. But even if if we can get some sort of an access point for that, might have to have some sort of step into it. That's something we'll certainly look into. I know that they do have a lot of offices lined up along here, but if we can, their lobby is right here, so it's definitely something we will explore and see if it can be feasible. Because I love that idea too of having an entry point right off the sidewalk.
Couldn't you have both? So you already planned for the ADA component with where you've got the entry now. the entry from the sidewalk wouldn't necessarily have to be that too? I don't know.
No, it wouldn't need to be from the sidewalk. It would just be a matter of if we had to have a step because of the way that the grade works, if that can protrude into the sidewalk. There is an existing night drop that has been abandoned, they don't use. So part of this will be taking out that night drop, and that is recessed a little bit, so we might be able to get something to work in that area. We'll just have to look on the inside to see what's right behind there, because that could potentially work with a step up. And then the other thing we'll just have to consider is because it is a bank, security is, they just need to make sure that they can make it a secure entrance as well, so.
I'm really curious because I like what you did here with the history of this, the old Buick dealership. But just thinking about like where I grew up in Pennsylvania, old automotive dealerships of that age, even though I'm not of that age, but anyway, the point is they were like drive-through. So you'd have a front entry door and then a rear entry door of the same size. So the vehicles or light trucks could come in front, drive out the back. And in the description here, they say about they had a lube shop, they had a paint shop, they had all this stuff here. So I'm betting when you get into the more like demo on this, I'm betting you're going to find a big bay door in the back somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, probably lining up with where the one was in the front, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I know that we'll have to look at some of the test spots that they did, because there were areas in the back where brick was missing. They had it as the base underneath the windows, but then it's missing in some areas, so that
would make sense then, yeah. That'd make a lot of sense.
Yep.
Could I just, one more item? You're going with a very light top. Now, what was the thinking around that? And is there a possibility that you could make those two elevator stair towers be less conspicuous, maybe, I guess you're stuck with them on the ends of the buildings, on the surface of the building. But what do you, have you looked at it as a darker element on the top?
We have looked at it with a few different color schemes. I think, we liked the idea of it feeling different and almost going away as that third story. But, I don't think anyone from the bank felt very strongly about that either way. So we'd be happy to explore other colors.
And one more item, the sloping metal roof, would it be better if it went outward and that you had a bit of a cornice that separated that sort of that icing on the top and the brick below? That sloping in is not something you would typically see.
Yeah.
You would see more of a cornice and then the wall behind it.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we can certainly take a look at. We were thinking of it as, almost the skirt, so that when you're looking at it from, anytime you look at it in 2D, it doesn't quite feel right. But when you look at it in 3D and you're looking up at it, the thought was it would just kind of slope away to be less intrusive.
Yeah, the current thing slopes back too.
Right.
But I think it would probably be, and I hate nudging you about this because you're doing such a good thing in the long run, but I just think it would be more historically appropriate if it had a bit of a cornice and then a ledge and then became the third floor.
Yeah, I think that's
not a deal killer, but just a thought.
Yeah, we'll absolutely take a look at that. Any other comments?
I was just wondering, looking again back at the original photograph, which I love that they made postcards out of things like car dealerships. It still has some of that leftover Art Deco-ish sort of feel from, the early 20th century. And I don't know if you had thought about bringing a little bit of that back in. I mean, these heavy cornices and fascia and stuff like that are, like I said, only like maybe 10 years old.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if it's something that you had thought about taking a bit more of a more minimal, almost deco approach to some of the.
Yeah, it's interesting because one of the options that we originally showed was removing all of that as part of the scope. And I think in general, the clients would be happy to go in that direction. We just, for this proposal, left the existing trim just because it was fairly new, but we're happy to look at that closer. Yeah, because I agree. It doesn't fit the depth of it, the proportion feels
It's
off.
still really, like, still heavy and big.
Yes.
Some Buick memorabilia.
Buick in the front, be cute.
Okay,
Great.
all right. Any other questions for us? Do you have?
I guess the questions would be next steps. Do you think that we could do a work session / public hearing next month?
If you guys think that you are to that point, I mean, I don't think that you've heard very many concerns from us. So, yeah, I mean, if you go through your design process more and feel really solid about it, then sure.
Okay.
It's fine.
There's no guarantee that it won't get awkward, but.
No, it can always get awkward with this group. But that's the beauty of a work session public hearing. If we get stuck at the work session part, we can still continue
it
it.
to the following. Yep. Okay.
So,
Perfect.
okay, great.
Thank you so much.
Do you have to ask if there are any comments from the public?
No one's
Anyone
online.
online wishing to speak? Okay, thank you. Well, then, I will take a motion to close the work session so that they can.
So moved.
Second?
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, chair votes aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, so we just have a few more things to discuss. We can sit here or go back up. One of the main thing to discuss is our training from the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions that we have our grant for. I did send out a quick email yesterday to have you all look at your calendars. Isaac and I were able to meet with the coordinator, and essentially they'll come. It'll be 6 topics. It'll be an all-day thing. We'll have plenty of, we'll probably do it in here. We'll have lunch that the city will provide, and we can open it up to invite all the other land use boards to join us, because the city staff are invited anyway. We don't even have to pay for them. They're just automatically involved. And any other boards or commissions or city councilors who would like to attend, it would be great. They don't host trainings essentially in the middle of the summer, so we could try and squeeze something in by before the end of June, or start to look at the end of August and after that. I would recommend, since it is an all-day thing, doing like a Friday or Saturday, since there are several of us who still do work and would have to take off a full day, and sometimes, but also sometimes Saturdays are hard to take away for an entire day. So I wanted to bring that up to as a discussion to see what your preferences are, what would work best for everyone here. Anyone have any thoughts?
I don't work, so I can go either way. I'm retired, thank you.
I personally feel like Friday would be my preference.
Mhm.
Yeah. But my work schedule's flexible, but, and then I was just a little confused because you said not summer, but August, so you're saying not middle of the
Starting in
summer.
the end of August and looking past that. So it depends on how quickly we want to try and, like, if we want to do it before summer really starts, then we can try and work really fast to get something set, or really plan out in the future. I don't know if anybody has any big travel or anything like that, so I wanted to.
I have to say, well, I don't work either, but I actually have commitments here and there. I'm struggling for the next 2 months. I've said yes to too many things.
As we all do.
I'm right there with you.
Well, if that's the case, and I am also very busy, we all are, so if it's makes sense to look out towards the end of August and after, then we can all plan ahead and make sure that everybody else who we would like to invite can plan ahead. Does a Friday seem like more feasible to everybody?
Well, yeah,
Depending on the Friday.
I mean, end of August puts you right somewhere up against Labor Day, so maybe
Yeah,
second week of September.
It would be in
or so.
September, for sure, because August is beginning of school and, so a Friday sometime in September, potentially?
I will be away on vacation for,
All of September?
no,
Okay.
from like the 11th through the 18th, those 2 Fridays. It's my annual trip.
When we get to that point, we should,
I can pull together, I mean, we can do like a doodle poll or something and
Sure.
send it out and see who, which one works for everyone. Okay, but I wanted to get those parameters set before we start looking at this. Okay, then we can get,
The 4th would be Labor Day. so that would be-
yeah,
Yeah, the 4th is
Labor Day weekend.
college moving weekend.
yes.
for me.
All right, so maybe towards at the end of September. I hate to push it out too far, just because I know that we're all anxious to have this. I'm excited to have our training. But it will be hard to do before June, I think.
Yeah, I think it rush, not only yes, but all the other boards.
Yeah.
To try to do it in June.
Just can't do 8 I'm the host for an event. Is it 8 a.m. that day until 9?
Well, we'll see. I mean,
But I can
it, you
start
know,
at 9.
Okay, that should probably be fine. Okay, so we'll pull together, Isaac and I will pull together a doodle poll and send it out and see what works for everybody, and we'll get in touch with the coordinators for that, but that sounds fine. Thank you
We're
for
gonna have
that.
a site visit too on
Humphreys Court?
Yeah.
So that was postponed to next month.
Okay.
I know that we've gotten a lot of public comment and stuff, so I think we're just waiting for that to actually start. Isaac will pull all that together, send it out, we'll have a site walk. Usually it's right before our meetings, so unless you guys think that you would like to have a site walk and then have the meeting like a week later or something to give yourself time to really think about it, but usually it's just more convenient to have it right at like 5:30.
This is for that split level?
Yes. So, to answer your question, but, and the only other thing, scheduling thing that I wanted to bring up too was we still would like to try and plan a joint, Historic District Commission and Planning Board meeting to talk about the boundaries and redrawing the boundaries along Middle Street and all of that. We initially thought that maybe May 28th was gonna work. It's not going to work. So we're looking into June again. Perhaps the second Wednesday of June, if we don't need to have a second meeting, we could do it then, or a little bit later in June on a Thursday, which is the planning board's second meeting.
I can't do, well, I'll actually be out of state for that week of the 10th, where the 10th falls in June.
Okay.
I'm hosting an event on the 10th too.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I mean, it is an extra meeting for all of us, so, I mean, just go where it goes. But, I just wanted to throw that one out there as well. Any other business that anyone wants to bring up?
Just wanted to bring up one thing, we saw it tonight. Commercial buildings putting split air units on them. I'm starting to think that maybe we should up our game a little bit and require them to put the set lines inside the house. No, it's a little tough for residential, but in some ways residential would work as well. So I'm starting to think that we're ending up with buildings with all these warts on them, these welts, and maybe we need to, I don't know, look at this a little closer, especially with the one we saw tonight at commercial building. I don't see why that couldn't have been set inside. But that's something I'm going to start considering.
Okay.
Yeah.
some of the residential are different apartments, so sometimes it's a little harder to run into the other guy's
Absolutely.
apartment. But I agree with you, the
Yeah.
commercial shouldn't have that problem.
Absolutely.
Are you talking about Frank, or
The brick building, yeah.
well, I was wondering what's currently there, for HVAC.
Not air conditioning.
I would just mention, with regard to Humphreys Court, not to discuss the project, but as part of my personal research, I did a more in-depth drive through Elwyn Park. I have a friend who lives on Hoover, and I haven't had a chance to get much beyond Hoover. I was fascinated by what is back there. If you've not driven back there or haven't been there recently, some of the modern architecture back there is wonderful. Also, you'll see what is happening there now to the architecture. Just
And one more item. They've exposed the front facade in Market Square for the old Breaking the Grounds building, and
I'm sorry, the old.
worth a look.
Breaking new ground, what's the,
Napolitano.
yeah, the Italian.
Yeah, it's worth a look, above the window line, and exposed to, there's like a steel beam, there's a timber inside a steel beam. It's, it's interested to architecture nerds, so.
building names.
Great.
This, Andrew, for a moment into bitch session, if you don't mind. I live on Gate Street. There's the 111 Gate Street, which has been in here many, many times. They've been struggling with the replacement windows, replacement sashes in the old window frames, and their solution up to this point appears to be tearing all of them out completely and making amateurish replicas of them, and then setting those on top of the sheathing rather than at the level of the sheathing, so that their windows are now going to stick out like it was, like the house was built turn of the century. They've done it all on their own dime. They've done it all without any conversation with anyone. And if anybody had a chance to just stop by and look to see what's going on, I just feel like we are watching a building that was a contributing building to the historic district being a poor replica of something that was in the historic district. And I don't know that that's the spirit of the ordinance at all.
Well, certainly, if anybody, we all know this, but if anybody sees anything that you don't remember approving, or it doesn't seem to be going the way it's supposed to, alert Isaac.
Drop a dime.
Yeah. Or the inspection department, anybody in the city who can stop and take a look.
Yeah. It can be incredibly frustrating when you see, Isaac will know I had a staff approval this last month on my house because the water sill on the front broke off under the snow load. Yeah, it was really bad. It was pretty rotten. It was very old. And we took pieces of it and had to have it fabricated to match the house, had special wood cut to fit and to match exactly what was there, and it cost a lot more money than it would have costed, but it was, trying to keep with the history of the house, and so it's incredibly frustrating when you see people not doing so, and it's happening. It's hard. It's hard, especially if you are working really hard to preserve the district.
Well, more discussion to be had. And thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Good meeting.
Yeah, thanks for all bringing up all of these topics and issues.
Are we gonna have, when are we gonna know what is in the training? Or did you send that?
Yes,
just need
I
to
sent it
reread
out.
Okay.
I will,
Never mind, I need to reread it.
once we get it all set up, I will send out
One
the.
of them was enforcement, was that one of the ones?
One of the ones is enforcement, and I think that, I can't remember if that ended up being one of the ones, but there definitely is procedure and stuff like that to go through. So I will, once we get it officially set, I will send out certainly the list of topics.
Great.
All right. If there's nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Okay. Thank you. Have a good night.